What's up, nation? I am Scraps from GriffinMods, and this is the new Revonix 360 from the Vortex line. This is the first blaster from the rebranding of the Vortex line, and what I mean by rebranding is that Nerf has decided to re-release the entire Vortex line cast in white plastic and with these cool kind of tribal looking paint jobs on them. They also have a brand new marketing campaign and box art to go along with it, which is all very similar to what you see here on the Revonix. On the front of the box, we have the Nerf logo up here. It says max distance, furthest firing Vortex blaster. So this should fire farther than the Pyragon or any other Vortex blasters so far. Here it says it comes with 30 extra long range discs. And here on the bottom it says Vortex, bend the rules of battle, which is their new tagline. Here on the side of the box, this is on all of the new re-released Vortex blasters, and as part of the Bend the Rules of Battle campaign, it advertises that you can bank, curve, and ricochet the Vortex discs, which is one of the big advantages of the Vortex line. The Vortex blasters are not quite as good outdoors as some of the Elite blasters, however, for indoor wars, they're fantastic because they give you the ability to fire all kinds of trick shots and banking the discs off of walls and things, and so the new marketing campaign seems to be catering greatly to that. On the top of the box, we have a picture of the male model here with the Revonix blaster, just like on most of the Nerf boxes. And on the bottom of the box, you can see here that they have images of the new re-released Diatron with the new paint scheme and also the new Pyragon, which looks kind of cool with almost a circuit board type paint job on it. On the back of the box, we have the same basic design scheme that they're using on all of the relaunched Vortex blasters. Here we have the bank, curve, and ricochet emblems that were on the side of the box as well. Up here it says farthest firing Vortex blaster, which is great. The Bend the Rules of Battle logo. The caption over here on the side says Revonix 360, load up and max out. The Revonix 360 blaster delivers the best distance of any Vortex blaster. Pack the revolving barrel with up to 30 discs and lock on from long range. With the blaster's 65-foot firing radius, your target is toast. Here it says slam it, hold the trigger, slide the slamfire handle to blast discs, launch as fast as you can fire. Up here it says load it, the 30-disc Roto action barrel spins as you fire, which is a new design feature from Nerf, so it'll be cool to see how that works. Inside the box, obviously you get the Revonix blaster, which my first impression is that it seems a little bit large, but I think that's going to be okay. You also get your 30 XLR discs, and these discs are an orange core with white foam around them, so pretty much the exact opposite of the disc that came with the Pyragon. And you also get your instruction manual, which this one seems to be printed on a little bit higher quality paper than what Nerf traditionally uses. As opposed to regular paper, this is more of like a glossy magazine cover type paper, so that's kind of interesting. And something else to point out is that the slamfire handle is held in the forward position with this piece of twine in packaging, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that as well. As far as the overall design of the blaster, I think it looks pretty awesome. The giant Roto slam barrel here makes it look kind of like a futuristic grenade launcher. It does have the same biomech detailing pressed into the plastic that they have on all the Vortex blasters. This one just has a little less of it than the other blasters do. The tribal detailing coming down from the front I think looks very cool. I like the flames. The foregrip is a little bit on the large side, and I definitely would have liked to see it contoured a little bit like the Raider foregrip is. It has attachment points here below the Roto slam barrel and also here above the stock attachment point, so if you want to sling it hanging down sideways from your side, those will work out very well. The stock attachment point does have this little shelf on here which causes some compatibility issues with a few of the stocks like the Retaliator stock, but most of them should work out pretty well even if it's a tight fit. It also has a new style trigger which is a little bit more contoured, and it's very comfortable. The pistol grip is a little bit on the large side, but it's comfortable as well. you'll see that it has the standard Vortex jam clearing button, and for the first time we have a Vortex blaster with a jam door, so it'll be cool to see how that works. You also have a tack rail running the full length of the top of the blaster, however you only have a tooth right here in the middle. As far as the functionality of the blaster, first of all, it's big. I was under the impression when I saw some of the initial stuff about this blaster that the intent was for it to be kind of a streamlined Pyragon with an inline 30-round drum, and so it would be lighter and more versatile. The truth is, it's actually quite a bit larger and heavier than the Pyragon is. If you look here, you can see that not only is it bigger in the drum area here, but it also has all this plastic here underneath the barrel and priming mechanism that the Pyragon doesn't have, and it's also a good several inches longer in the front. It's also a great deal wider, and you can see just how much larger it is in the overhead view between the two blasters. And even when you have the 40-round drum installed in the Pyragon, it's still lighter and more maneuverable than the Revonix is, so that's a major drawback in my book. One of the coolest things about the Revonix is definitely this Roto action barrel. It's composed of 5 little 6-round mini mags that rotate each time you fire the blaster. The disc can be loaded in from either side, and because it rotates every time you fire it, that means that you can constantly be loading discs throughout the course of a war, and you never have to actually stop to refill a magazine. So depending on the type of war you're playing, that could be a huge benefit. Also, the barrel rotates freely regardless of whether the blaster's primed, as long as the priming mechanism's in the forward position. So that means that you can technically get 31 rounds if you want to load one into the chamber and then pop one more into the drum. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and load in a few discs and open up the jam door and show you guys what's actually going on with this blaster mechanically. Clearly, the biggest difference about the Revonix in comparison to other Vortex blasters is that at some point in the firing process, it has to take a disc from a vertical position, shift it to a horizontal position, and then chamber and fire the disc. So this is how that happens. During the first half of your prime, when you're priming the mechanism back, it rotates the disc into place and primes the torsion spring inside the blaster. And if you look down here, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but all the way down there you can see that the disc is lined up to come up and fit into this plastic piece right here, which is actually a sled that when I prime it forward is going to take that disc and move it into the firing position. The last little bit of the first half of the prime, there's some kind of mechanism inside that actually pops the disc up into this sled and makes it ready for fire. So here's what that looks like. And now you can see the disc is in position, and then as I prime it forward, the barrel is going to rotate to start setting up for the next shot, and this sled is going to pull the disc forward and put it into firing position. And now it's ready to fire. Something else that's unique about the Revonix is the way that the locks are set up. Typically in Vortex blasters, when you run out of discs, the whole blaster locks up and it won't allow you to prime or fire or do anything until you load more discs in. The Revonix is different in that if you try to fire on a chamber that doesn't have any discs in it, it'll still allow you to prime and it'll still rotate the drum. It just won't release the spring unless you actually have a disc loaded in that chamber, which is great for this design because that means that if you're reloading on the fly and you're not necessarily paying attention to which chambers you have discs in and which ones you don't, when you get to an empty one, instead of locking up on you, it'll just let you keep on cruising through until you get to a chamber that actually has a disc. So to illustrate that, I've got a chamber that doesn't have any discs in it, and you can see that as I prime it, I'm compressing the spring, the barrel rotates, it just won't let me fire. So then next time I try to prime it to a chamber that does have a disc, it saves that compressed spring and utilizes that for the following shot. Because you have all these different operations taking place as part of the priming of the blaster, the result is that the prime does in fact feel a bit grindy. However, after you run a few rounds through the Revonix, it does smooth out quite a bit. It's still not as fast or as smooth as the Pyragon is, however at this point it has smoothed out enough that it's not really an issue for me personally. Since the Revonix supposedly has superior ranges to all of the other Vortex blasters, we're going to do a quick firing comparison between the Revonix and the Pyragon and see if there's any noticeable difference in the velocity of the discs. We're going to start out with 2 shots from the Pyragon. And the Revonix. So there was actually a noticeable difference in the discs. The shots fired from the Pyragon had more of an arc to them, even in the short distance from here to the target, and the shots from the Revonix were much more level consistently all the way across. So that being said, let's go outside and take a look at the ranges. Since this is a Vortex blaster, there's no point in doing angled shots, so I'm just going to fire 10 level shots with the same disc that came with the blaster. And let's take a look at the ranges. If you remember, the claim on the box says that it'll fire up to 65 feet, so that's what I'm looking for specifically. Looks like we have our first disc here at 42, and that's nice and close to the tape. At 45, I have 2 more discs, and those are about 2 feet from the side of the tape. 48, I've got another disc. Just before 50, I have 1 more. I have another disc at 52, that's about 3 feet out. Here's one at 56, about 2 feet out. Here's one at 60, that's about 1.5 feet out. I've got one here, almost right next to the 65-foot mark, so there we go. And it looks like we have a long disc up here at 72 feet, and that's probably about 3.5 feet from the side of the tape. So really good ranges from the Revonix, and I've got one more test I want to show you guys. This is going to be a rate of fire demonstration. The purpose of this test is just to see how long it takes to get through the full 30-round drum. So I'm going to fire our all-level shots, and we're going to see how long it takes. So there you go. I'll put the total elapsed time in the bottom corner of the video here. It definitely wasn't quite as smooth or as fast as the Pyragon, but it wasn't too bad. Let's take a look at the carnage. My final verdict on the Revonix and whether or not it's better than the Pyragon, it really depends on what you're using it for. If we're talking about an indoor war or a war where you know there's going to be a lot of discs flying around, I would definitely recommend the Revonix. The ability to reload on the fly and never have to stop to actually fill up a mag is a huge advantage. And the fact that it has better ranges means that it also has better velocity and it's harder to dodge. It's also slightly more accurate and it's better for trick shots. However, if we're talking about an outdoor war or a war where I want something that's maneuverable and versatile and has a very high rate of fire, I would still recommend the Pyragon. So like I said, it really comes down mostly to personal opinion and what exactly you're planning on using that blaster for. So I think that about wraps it up. This has been Scraps from GriffinMods. If you guys like the video, please subscribe, and of course, thank you very much for watching.